You want to watch the narrative of blaming others, right? It's one of the problems in my mind with therapy, not how therapy is supposed to be, but a lot of therapists get into this continual, how's it going? What happened when you were a kid? Oh my God, that's because your father did X, Y, Z, all that stuff. And that's true and important. And we do need to become aware of that and figure it out. But at some point, we need to put that down and begin to take responsibility, because if you are, quote unquote, an adult in age, to become an adult emotionally means that you're going to start owning, hey, I had whatever parenting I had whatever abuse I had, and now it's on me to make the right decision. And so it's not fruitful to blame mom and dad and friend and partner, especially if I keep participating in it in my part, which is the codependency part. Now that said, if somebody's truly abusive, that's something that's wrong. You got to get help, get away, whatever that stuff is. But consistently, we want to move toward taking responsibility and owning and changing ourselves, because ultimately we all need to be independent and really start taking care of ourselves. Okay. Side note, how do we stop this for our kids? Because this is a generational thing, this dysfunction that's, I really do think, on the verge of, or maybe a full-blown epidemic for real in our culture. It's happening generation after generation. So if your parents are either addicted or deeply codependent or whatever, and you did grow up in a lot of dysfunction, it's not your parents that we can just blame, because they probably grew up in a total bunch of dysfunction, and they probably, they did.
Right.
It's generational pain that we're dealing with here. So how do we stop it for our kids? If this comes from abuse and addiction primarily, if that's where we know this comes from, the short answer is, well, just love your kids, right? Love your kids, and that will fix it. And while that's a part of it, loving your kids doesn't actually prevent addiction necessarily, right? It may help, right? If somebody goes, there's a high correlation with trauma and addiction, right? There are, there's nature versus nurture, right? There are some nurture things along the way that can make addiction more plausible, but it also has a genetic component. It also got all these other things, right? So along with love, what's really important is to get yourself okay with boundaries, and then teach boundaries to your kid, which means that oftentimes your best parenting doesn't mean that your kid is super duper loving you in any one moment. They might actually be super mad at you because you held a boundary, but they're learning the lesson of and the importance of boundaries in their life.
Thanks for tuning into the Rob Scott Show. My name's Sarah, and I'm here with Rob Scott. He's a master level coach. And we're here to we got to start this again. Cut.